Thank you. Thank you, Yanto, for the very warm introduction. And this is Sunday night, 9 p.m. in the United States. And I should say this is the best way I can think of to conclude a very pleasant summer weekend. So as you see in my title, the work I'm going to share with is titled Angry Birds, Measuring and Predicting Affective Polarization Online using survey links Twitter data. And this is a work co-authored by me. I'm from the Center of Social Media and Politics at NYU. And also my co-author is from the Media Lab at MIT. So let me start with putting this research in the context of this conference that especially with reference to what Yanto has just shared about. So the theme I'm going to talk about is mining social media text to understand polarization. And this is the specific example I'm going to giving. So I'm going to start with saying why we care about this. So what we do is in this study is actually one of the oldest problem that's troubling social scientists, measurement. And so for social scientists, there are concepts of theoretical interest that we care about. And then we constantly face challenge in finding the correct data and the right measurement. And as Yanto just introduced, there are new computation techniques and large data sets that become readily available for us. But then the challenge that we're usually facing is how do we know that the techniques, the computational techniques match with the concept of the interest that we are looking at? The methods aren't relevant because they look fancy or because they use advanced algorithms, but we social scientists need to validate these algorithms to make sure that they're actually speaking to things that we care about. So this is the theme, the broader theme this study tries to address. So let's start by allow me to assume many of you doesn't come from a political science background. So just let me define the outcome variable of interest very briefly. Affective polarization. So in one sentence, affective polarization is a kind of polarization in democracy that's about the tendency of people to dislike or distrust people from the opposing party. So affective polarization is not about policy disagreement. It's not that I disagree with you on the economic policy, so I don't like you, but it's just like I don't like you as a person or I distrust you. And this has increasingly become an important problem in democracy, and many of them even refer to as one of the turmoil of democracy nowadays. And then in recent year, as you see from this review, this graph I referred to in the review article, this purple line plots how people feel about other people from the other party. And then this score is like a thermometer when 0 means just completely feeling completely cold, and 100 meaning feeling completely warm. And then it just keeps dropping in recent years. And we can see, given the recent political incidents, it can drop even to a lower level. So the questions to answer for this paper is, how is affective polarization associated with information consumption and expression on social media? And do social media sentiments correlates with affective polarization? And what social media behavior predicts affective polarization? The data we use is a unique survey-linked Twitter data that we collected a while ago. So it is a random sample of over 1,200 United States citizens who provided us with their Twitter handle, and we keep tracking. And we conduct surveys that includes a comprehensive set of political questions. And then we keep track of their social media data. And then in the study that I'm going to share with you today, we collected 1.9 million of the tweets between 2015 to 2017, which is like the critical period that they're tweeting in the previous election cycle. So our ground truth outcome variable, affective polarization, there are actually two sets of survey response that political scientists usually use to measure affective polarization. And as a reminder, that means dislike and distrust of people from the other party. The first one is feeling thermometer, and then that's a simple question, rating question, how positively, negatively do you feel about Democrats and Republicans? And then the second set of questions is a little more complicated, and it's asking people to assign adjective to people from their own party and the other party, how much you feel the people are close-minded, generous, intelligent, and selfish. So using the standard set of survey measurement, which we collect from our 1,200 respondents, we perform principal component analysis to get a affective polarization measure from survey. And then we consider that as a ground truth because this is what we collect with reliable survey measure that we have checked. They finished the survey in the reasonable time. So we consider that as their ground truth opinion. So, and then using the large amount of social media data, we try to see if the survey response that we consider as the ground truth affective polarization actually correlates with their social media behavior. So the first question we ask is, how is affective polarization associated with information consumption and expression? And so I'm just going to show some highlight of the results. So affectively polarized persons evidently tweet much more than those that are not affective polarization. So that explains why we are seeing a lot of hate and a lot of dislike on social media. It is that those who just doesn't like the others just tweet more and are more vocal on the space. And the second finding with this descriptive statistics is that affectively polarized people, they're more likely to live in the echo chamber. That means by looking at their friends list and follow list, they're more likely to follow those who hold the same political opinion in the same party, same ideological scale with them. So with these two, this actually explain how, why we are seeing the social media space looking so toxic in a certain way. So moving to the second question we asked, do tweet sentiments correlate with affective polarization? And then that's getting into the measurement problem is, can we just calculate sentiments on the social media and use that as an indicator of this polarization indicator, how reliable it is. So we take a few steps to code the sentiments in tweets. In step one, we identify political tweets using a supervised machine learning approach. We ask human coders to label a few thousand tweets, and then we train supervised machine learning model, and specifically we are using the random forest model. Give me one second. And then step two, with these identified political tweets, we further identify partisan tweets. So we use a C dictionary plus word embedding to create an expanded dictionary of partisan words. So we start with a few words like Democrats, Republican, and then given the messiness of social media data, we want to get more words about description of parties. So we train word embedding with all the tweet text. And then we augment the dictionary by looking up closest words and phrases in the embedded space to get us to code tweets in terms of whether they talk about political party. And then the last step is coding sentiments in tweets. We use an external dictionary developed by the NRC, one of the good sentiment dictionary, and based on crowdsourced methods. And then we use that to use dictionary lookup to look for sentiment words in tweets, and then we manually validate these the sentiments of the tweets by the authors in our RAs. So it shows that first of all, the affectively polarized people tweet much more about politics than those that are not affectively polarized. So if you hate people, you just want to talk about politics a lot on social media. And then the second finding is that we see a strong correlation between negative feeling as measured by Twitter data and negative feeling as associated with survey data. But we don't find any relationship in terms of positive feeling. That means just Twitter or maybe a lot of social media, cyberspace is a place for people to express negative feeling, but not so much for positive feeling. Now, moving to the third question, what social media behavior predicts affective polarization? So We search for indicators of affective polarization and then search for the best predictor. And then we just fit 500,000 models and then define the best predictor. So in the interest of time, I would not go into details of these. And then we use some simple linear model with regularization and then generate interpretable coefficients. And then we're not using complex model just because the best linear model performs pretty well. And then also the results are interpretable. And then we conduct a set of experiments. We use cross-validation and use the out-of-sample prediction as the measure of performance. And then we vary how many steps the model take, and also the specific outcome variable, and also what are the targets, and then use different features of these models. So just general finding, two-steps approach, which means predicting people's party identity before predicting their affect works better. And also the best predictive model missed affective polarization scores by about 13%, which we consider quite a reasonable results. And it's easier to predict Democrats than Republicans' affective polarization. And then we check the data. It's because Democrats, they're just much more vocal than Republicans on the cyberspace. And also small set of feature suffices. And then so you can actually pretty much look at how people retweet and who people add to find their level of affective polarization. So a few key takeaway. We assess how affective polarization correlates with social media activities. And then our finding is that affectively polarized people tend to be more active on Twitter and stay in echo chamber. Negative sentiments on Twitter correlates with affective polarization, and simple model with small feature sets, which we predict pretty well affective polarization. So that's it about our research that I would like to share. And I would appreciate talking more about it with you in the Q&A. Thank you.